what our brother just spoke to has to do with us establishing our own.
Yes.
The thing is, we're not in a place where we have to develop our own. We have to establish our own. We have representation, knowledge, wisdom, experience at this very table.
Right.
And in our broader community, we have all of that at our disposal. But we're a people that suffers from fragmentation.
Absolutely.
We're fragmented from one
we don't
another.
come together, yeah.
And the thing is to identify these fragments and pull them together. So what we have to do is this necessary networking. We have to do the developmental work amongst ourselves that allows us to continue to establish. It's not that we have to build all of this.
No.
We already have it. The thing is bringing the pieces together, bringing the portions of this together that allow it to work. So like when we speak about the need for having our own factory, it's not that we don't have the know-how and the ability to develop a factory. The thing is that we have to bring those together that are already doing it for somebody else.
Right.
And in the midst of
Right.
us. And do what? Establish that for ourselves, because it's not a lot of developmental work. We're already doing it. We already know how to do it. We're just not doing it with or for each other.
That's right.
Great point.
That's powerful. We're gonna do a quick photo with our brother, and then move on to the next section, which will be in the far.
I'm gonna sit right here.
You wanna sit on the side? I was gonna put you in the middle, but how do you wanna do it?
I think you should stay in the middle.
Yeah,
It
sit
would
in the
look better in
middle.
the middle. Okay.
Look at that,
Right
sisterhood. Sisterhood know how to make us great. They're gonna build us up.
All right.
Yep, and then you can face me. 3, 2, 1. My kind of voice. All right, thank you.
All right.
All right, and so now we'll bring up our next speaker, the Illustrious. I left my rose petals at home. I was gonna just throw the rose petals as he walked up.
Okay, so my name is Nifar Osuji. I'm Nigerian. I'm Nigerian and Haitian. Born in Louisiana, and I originally studied criminal justice and history, but I've always liked fashion, so I did the law stuff for my parents to make them feel good. Because I have a Nigerian dad, and it's important to study something of substance, as he would say. That if you just do the job. So that's where the law and the history came in. I did that for a while, but I became a wife and a mother at 21, so I needed to contribute to my family in a way where I could be an at-home mom. So a part of was making my own clothing is how I got started. And then people loved it. Not liked it, but loved it. And they would always inquire about me making things for them. I was a little nervous because I learned in 10th grade. So in Louisiana, it's kind of, you know, you have the home economics, you learn how to cook, and we cook real meals, gumbo, you know, things like that, things like that, you know, and so we learn how to sew, all types of like domestic things, and so applying what I learned then, and then what I kind of just, YouTube University is what we call it, I learned there, I just would make clothing, and I would make my son's clothing, so that saved me money, and then I decided to, you know, kind of get out of fear and make my family members, because they'll tell me if they like it or not, and so I started that way, and then I ended up doing well, and I have a thing about, I understand measurements and math well, so, you know, just intersecting those things, and I come from a family of entrepreneurs as well, so understand having a business mindset was also helpful, and someone was like, maybe you should sell your things, and online wasn't the thing then, so it was more so like vending at different events, and I started there. However, it took me from vending to me now having a small manufacturing company in Ghana. So yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I wanted to originally do it in Nigeria, but at the time, I wasn't as connected with as many people as I was in Ghana. And I wasn't even that connected in Ghana. It was just one day I was talking to a friend that knew someone in Ghana, and I connected with him. And he's like, yeah, I can help you, because that's something he wanted to do. And I was like, okay, I'll fly out like in 2 weeks, like seriously. And so I flew to Ghana, I met the brother, and we went and spoke with a few people that he knew. And I decided, I think that at that time, it was like around this time when you get your income tax check, I had got mine, and I was like, I'll buy this flat now, we have to be serious. So I bought the materials of my refund, I bought the flat for it, cause you know, it was really cheap. The flat was like, for 3 bedroom, it was like American dollars, $1,500 for almost 2 years. That was more than affordable. Yeah, and then getting the equipment was a lot cheaper because the great thing about in Africa, they have so for example, I'm gonna take you guys back for a moment. The original idea was Zimbabwe because I had connections in Zimbabwe. Zimbabwe is so magnificent because they have the land, they have the resources, they don't have the capital. So that's the only difference is that they don't have the capital.
Places,
yes,
everything.
and they have the skill.
Yeah.
Because at one point in time they did that, but when they took everything back from the white people, of course they had to put their land under section, which drained their dollars, so they have no capital. But they have the resources. So that's why I was gonna start in Zimbabwe. However, sometimes it was such a challenge with getting US dollars there, as well as getting quality things such as zippers and you know, Americans, we're not having no dysfunctional zippers. We're not, you know, they will comment bad on me and those things, so it was bad for business for me. So I had to take a pause on Zimbabwe and move forward to Ghana, where resources come through Ghana and it's easier to get it. You know, the shipping isn't as expensive and things are a lot different than Zimbabwe and Ghana. So that's why I moved forward with Ghana instead of Zimbabwe. However, me understanding that to get the, such as like the industrial sewing machines and those things from in Africa is a lot cheaper than me buying it here in America. I know it sounds crazy, but yes, because see what China does is they have the industrial machines that they would make the singers, those types of brands, and let's just say something goes wrong on them that they don't want to fix or anything, so they would still sell it as if it's fine. And you know, us as people, we're good at making something out of nothing. So even though it's broke, one of these brothers is gonna figure out how to make it work.
That's right.
Okay? And so that's basically what they do.
Just like
And you know, so it's great because it's like it may just be something small that needs to be fixed and they fix it and bam, you have a sewing machine. So that's what we scouted for the week I was there, of sewing machines that maybe needed light work, which will be a discount on my pocket, which is what cause I had very little money, you know, small, but I wanted something, you know, kind of big at that time. And we got 3 machines. The brother that I connect with, he already had 2, and we hired 1 person. So literally it was 3 of us that started it. And I had to come back, cause remember I have a son, I was working at a law firm, you know, and I still had a life here, you know, so I was taking care of my mother, those things. So I still had to come back here. And so I taught them what I could as far as pattern making, the things that they didn't know how to do, and I gave them a task, create 30 garments. And I showed them what I want, I gave them the sizes because the size difference, all of those things. And they shipped it to me and it worked. And I was like, okay, we can do this. We got the first collection done. So they do about 3 to 4 collections for me, to the point where we've hired 2 more people, and now I have my things in a store here called Boutique Africa in the West End that I co-run with this brother Zabiel, as well as a store at my old college, Southern University in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, and in New Orleans at one of my friend's store. So it's not as big, but it's a start.
That's
because
awesome.
the issue,
It is big. It's huge. It's very big.
So, can I ask a question? In your experience, first of all, I'm glad that you're able to come with your busy schedule because you're doing all these international moves and stuff like that. So honored to have you here. And I wanted you to come because it's not enough just to talk about what we should hypothetically maybe could do in the future. We want to be able to highlight examples, as Dr. Shalem said, of people who are doing things right now. To be able to highlight that and just say that it's possible.
Yeah.
You can start off, even if you start off with, as you say, small. You know, you can grow up, you know, from that seed, you can grow many different things. So what would be your advice or your encouragement for people in the next generation who are looking to scale up their projects, to take their idea and manifest it from thought to reality? You know, what would you say to someone who's on that path?
Oh, you use thought to reality, you kind of love that.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, that's what inspired me, thought to reality. I'm a creative person, so if most of the people that's in the next generation are probably those people. I would say to you, just do it. You know, I know that's so easy to say, but you're gonna, anytime you elevate, there's gonna be like an ebb in life that you're gonna experience. So no matter how high you get, you're gonna experience some type of adversity and challenge. And during those moments of challenge, you have to understand that you're just paying your dues. You know, when going through this process of that manufacturing company, trust me, we experienced so many challenges. Any Nigerians in here understand how that, especially customs, you understand how they will hold your things. Mama, you know, they want their money. You know, so it's like you're gonna face different challenges, and when you face those challenges, understand that you're paying your dues, but you must continue. You have to have a goal. So that's the thing. Have your goal. Understand why you're doing this. So when you understand why you're doing it, when you're going through those things that make you just want to quit, make you like, why am I doing this? My people that, you know, you can't focus on that. You focus on the task at hand and why you're doing it. As long as you remember why you're doing it, that's gonna perpetuate you forward no matter what it is that you're enduring. And sometimes you may have to just take a step back or, you know, sit down and remember why you're doing it. I always write it down. Another thing would be to, as Ator Shalane said, to connect with people that's already doing it, or just talk about it. You don't have to tell people the details of what you're doing, but be intentional about who you're communicating with, what you're doing, your social media. You know, even though, yeah, social media isn't the best thing, but it can be. You can utilize all these things to your advantage. It's like playing a game. You know, you play that part so that you can get what you need. You know, it's nothing wrong with you utilizing people and using people. You just don't want to misuse them. So all of those things are important when you're doing that, connecting with the right people, understanding that the game that you're in, learn as much as you can. So for me, I learned every part of my business when it came to designing, sewing, I even took pictures. I was the model for many years. I edit my own pictures, so I only had enough money to did my own catalog. I was reaching out to people. I even brought my son. You know, he's everywhere with me. So he would have been here tonight, but he's with his friends. But typically, it's, you know, every part of my business, I have sat down and done it. That way, because my goal was to have the manufacturing company. I'm like the sister. I was like, okay, I can't do this by myself, and I need help getting it done. But when I did my research, Europe, all of these other places, Italy, all these other places owned everything, and we had nothing. So that was the inspiration behind it all. Was like, no, we deserve to have, like, it's for us. Like, this needs to be something for us. We have this big, beautiful continent, and we don't have anything for us. So that's what inspired it. So before I can even get to that level, how can because I felt like I was gonna be the one directing everything. I couldn't pay anyone because nobody was doing what I wanted them to do. So I had to understand every aspect of my business, and I think that that's important too, for even if you don't work on everything, know what it is that you want and how you want to get it. Having the discipline, doing the plan of actions on the steps you need to get, sourcing your friends, have intentional conversations like, okay, hey guys, we're meeting every day, every Friday at this time, and from this time to this time we're working on it. Really take yourself serious, and I'm not telling you to be a robot or anything, but understand that not necessarily time is of the essence, but whatever work that you decide to put in, honestly, that's really what you're gonna get back in return. And sometimes it's not always about the money, in a sense. I'm not telling you don't get your money, I get it. But understand that you may have to, I bordered a lot of times. Many times I didn't have the money. So I literally would make people clothing. I would design what they want and at a certain value. So understand the value of your business. And I would tell them, hey, I can design this, and that for you. This is the monetary value of these garments. So if I give this to you, can you do this for me? And typically they'll say yes, especially if you have good quality things and you're coming to them professional, you know how much your value of your stuff is. So understand that you have unlimited resources. Understand that you come from a very divine source, and that if you decide that this is something you want to do and you're gonna put the work ethic into it, just know that you're gonna be tested. And when you are tested, remember what it is that you wanted to do in the first place. Like, that's the best thing I can tell you. I hope it answered it.
I should. Any other comments or questions?
I'm gonna say, man, I'm definitely inspired. Your story, I'm definitely inspired by your story because your story actually mirrored our journey as far as establishing business. And we actually established business in Zimbabwe.
Nice.
Yeah, so I'm inspired by the story you told and said you have to always understand why. You know, because we remembered when we first came into the continent, we couldn't understand, okay, how do we do business here? What is the business going to be? How do we survive? Because we were thinking of living in Africa, because we didn't know the terrain. So our whole thing was like, okay, how do we root ourselves? So all the things that you've explained, understand the why, your purpose, and what you have to go through. Because one thing that's very important that a lot of us are not prepared to deal with is that failure. It's like if you do push-ups and you get to the point where you can't do another push-up and you have to take a step, you have to rest to let the muscle get back to it. And then when you get back to it, you can actually do more push-ups because your muscle is stronger. So failure, just like in an exercise, is a part of building up. So failure in business is also a part of strengthening. So if you don't fail, you cannot strengthen yourself and grow.
Right.
You know, most people are afraid of failure, but if you exercise, if you know about it, he knows about this. Right. Isn't failure a part of your success in exercising? Failure is a part of your success in business. So when she said, understand your why, because the failure and all that stuff is a part of it, because that's how you go to this level, to that level, the level. So I'm inspired by your story, because I can actually, meanwhile, he's a bear witness to it. It's a mirror of what we've also experienced. So that's amazing what you told. Yes.
Yeah, I think it was you who told me, one of you two, who said when you go to Africa, you got to pay tuition.
You have to.
All that money that you bring, that you think is gonna, that's tuition. Whatever money you thought you started off with, you're gonna pay that, you're gonna lose all of that. You're gonna learn some lessons. Yeah. And now you can start operating. But you gotta get broken in first, you know?
Everybody.
You gotta pay your school fees.
So one of the things,
The rites of passage.
one of the things I'd like to add,
Absolutely.
I love her story.
Yes.
I wish we can tell those stories and your story and whoever. Let's go to the schools
Absolutely.
and start telling those
Absolutely.
I love it. That's
These
right.
are the real stories.
and creating dreams for our kids.
Yes, these are the real stories.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I don't know if you have not spoken to any schools yet.
Well, not here in Atlanta.
You need to do that.
You need to.
Let's
You have
partner on
to.
that, especially
Yeah.
with that
You have
county
to.
where we're getting ready to launch our Dream Mapping Academy at
Yes.
the Boys and Girls Club. So he's running for school board in the same county where we're partnering with the Boys and Girls Club to roll out a career planning and entrepreneurship training program.
Yeah.
And so that's actually how we linked up at the U.S. Nigeria
Yes.
Business Summit.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so that's definitely something that we could do through Youth Aid and Humanity in partnership with you. Let's go ahead and increase this awareness, because this isn't the next generation summit, it's the first next generation summit.
Yeah.
We want to continue on with this movement.
Absolutely.
And that story has to be told,
Yeah,
because
this-
those experiences are the most important part of any education, anything of learning.
What I love most about your story, and your story is very inspiring because our stories are very similar. I'm a mother too, and I have a full-time job. I also have my businesses still, a clothing line as well. What I really love about your story, because when I started with China and its African prints. But afterwards, I'm like, no, this doesn't make sense, because it's only, like, if I'm African, I have to contribute towards my continent. I have to contribute towards my country. So I love the fact that you said you had to go to Ghana to have your own factory. That's you contributing towards your continent. And that's what we need to do. We need to stop giving our dollars out, because they're so good at helping themselves and making themselves richer. We need to start making ourselves richer, because the time is now. So yeah, it's very inspiring, and I really want to hear more of this.
Yeah, because you're creating more jobs.
Yes.
You're helping the economy.
That's right.
So that's the thing, I didn't get to tell you all, it's more to my story.
We're gonna come back after a break.
It's real, it's an expansion.
We'll grab my hook and just
I'll be quick, it's just an expansion, so it's small now, that's why I say it's small, because the grand scheme is originally it was for women with children, because that was something that I noticed that hurt me so bad. If I go to Nigeria, if I go to Ghana, Ivory Coast, anywhere, is to, the women, are so strong, and I'm so thankful, but they need jobs or money. They just want to pay school fees for their children. They just want to feed their babies. no woman should have to worry about those things. You know, it's enough we have to deal with already. So just to provide the necessary things, and then after my divorce, becoming a single mom was so challenging, and then trying to do all of these things. So I felt their pain, and me being here in America, I was a little bit more blessed because we have resources, but there they don't. So that was the point of me even wanting to start it, because it was for all women. And the building would have land where they can grow vegetation. So whatever they grow, they take home and eat. And I would like a cook to come and they cook and we just eat, and then have a school for the small babies to come, like a daycare. That way they don't have to worry about, where their babies will be. They're right there. So you have food, you have, where your children are, the school fees, some of the money that we're making will go towards school fees, so we'll have scholarships given to the children, and then they're able to make money to pay, to provide a foundation for their kids. So this is the overall grand scheme of everything. So that's
It's a
the
one-stop
goal.
shop.
Yes.
It is a one-stop
Yes.
shop. Wow.
Yes. Oh wait, and so I'm working on building actual, taking cotton and making it into textiles. So that's where Zimbabwe comes in, because they have all of that there. So yeah, we'll make the fabrics, we'll sew it, design it into whatever, and then we will allow designers who may not even know how to sew or know where to start to produce their collections. So that's the overall.
So we're gonna have one last comment from you. If you could tell us more about Boutique Africa, which is located right here in the West End.
Okay, yes, so you guys love Boutique Africa. So it's for us, especially it's for any age if you ask me. We have a grand opening March 21st, 2020. It's in the West End. It's in the Soul Vegetarian Complex, which is right off of Ralph David Abernathy. It consists of women's, children, and men's clothing. We also have very good knowledge. Not knowledgeable books. What's a good word? But books.
Very good books.
Yeah, books.
By virtue of being books, they're
very good books that will help enrich your mind. The simple things such as natural body care products. We're gonna host. Can I say it? Can I tell them?
Yes.
No, you can tell them. How about that, real quick?
So we have a natural skincare line that we're going to be featuring in Boutique Africa come this March.
Nice.
So soaps, bath salts, bath bombs, and things like that. They're all vegan, 100% organic. So.
And it smells really good. She has this one called, I'm gonna make y'all laugh, called Monkey Fart, but it doesn't smell like whatever.
I was gonna say,
No, it smells really good. So yeah, we'll have things like that from different merchants, creatives, whether it's art, natural care products, or even clothing. So designers, we'll also feature those. And did we bring business cards?
Yes, I brought
So
business
we have
cards.
business cards that we can pass out. So if you're interested in being
You're making it rain.
if you're interested in being a merchant, we would love to connect with you all. And we will be hosting events later on this summer. And I'll be teaching sewing classes. I think Zabiel may teach jewelry classes, or that may be just for children. But we can confirm that later. So we have many different things going on, as well as with the connection with the kingdom. We have different events going on within the kingdom. Are you going to be hosting events too?
Plenty of events. So all of us, we're going to be exchanging. I have all of your contact information, and we'll be keeping you in the loop with regards to future events. I want to make a point here. First of all, a round of applause from the far. It's amazing, yeah. And so a big part of what we're saying is a key theme for the next generation is to switch our mindsets from being consumers to being producers. And one of the main reasons we find ourselves in a situation we're in is because we don't have the mindset of producing instead of consuming, right? However, it's still important that we consume, so we're going to go ahead and take a lunch break. And what we're going to be doing is going to a Soul Vegetarian restaurant where you can actually get a sneak peek inside of Boutique Africa, see some of the other things we got going on, get some food inside of our system, and then we're going to come back and reconvene in 20 minutes, if possible. Right? So let's see about, is that long enough?
You take 20 minutes to get over there.
First of all, Soul Vegetarian. So what we need to do is we need to strategize this, right? We can strategize it. Because there's some ways that we can do this.